There we go. Record on computer. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the living legend, the man himself. You've heard about him for years. He's here, straight from rockin' Sedona, Arizona. If I have that right.
Sedona, Arizona. Yeah.
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 I lived in Prescott in 2000 for a year, and would come to Sedona and do my channeling thing there every weekend. I love Sedona.
You know what's interesting? I just started working in Prescott about a month ago at Collective Karma.
Okay.
Was a cool little studio. They've got like multiple studios there, classrooms and yoga studio, and it's great to be a part of that community as well.
Great. Yeah, I really loved my time in Prescott. It was quite magical. Yeah. So, Anthony, I know you through Ingrid, our lovely soul sister Ingrid Turner, and she sings your praises. So tell us a little bit about your journey and your work and the Red Path and all that. Yeah.
My journey. Well, it wasn't an intentional journey.
Right. Never is.
Right. It was, I was actually dating somebody, and she was listening to a phone call that I was on with a guy that I sponsor in sobriety, because I've been sober for a lot of years.
Right.
And
same here.
And I got off the phone, and she says, you really ought to become a healer. And I'm like, what's that? She says, like Reiki. I'm like, what's that? I was clueless. I was a biker, a musician. I was all kinds of things.
Okay.
But,
you were a wild
aspect of spirituality and creating some sort of healing force behind it was not something that I was familiar with at all, period.
Okay. Right.
I went to church, I did all that kind of stuff. I was a sexton at a church where I lived on the property and I helped people, but outside of that, not really.
Okay.
So I checked it out. I found a school called Lionheart Institute of Transpersonal Energy Healing.
Wow.
I went and checked it out on a Tuesday night, and there was two people there checking them out, and one of us was suicidal, and it wasn't me. And I never went back to check that out because I wasn't impressed.
Right.
And then for our 1-year anniversary, the woman I was dating, and she gave me a healing session with somebody who just happened to be a teacher and a student of that school.
Okay.
That healing changed my life.
Wow.
It changed my life so much that I'm having this conversation with you right here, right now. And I know Ingrid because of that conversation, and thousands of people around the world know who I am now because of that healing session. I was at the end of the healing session, the healer, Kathy, her name's Kat. She said, what does wolf mean to you, dog? I'm like, I don't know. And she said, well, because Wolf came in and sat down during the healing. And on the way out the door, I didn't realize it, but the house is like 90, probably turn of the century where we were doing the healing. And there was a knocker on the screen door. And we were leaving, it said, look, Wolf. And it was a wolf. I didn't notice it on the way in. Why would I? It was just a knocker.
Sure.
And she said, she said the same thing. I never noticed that before either. Right. And I got in my car, I drove down the street, I got to a stop sign, and there was a wolf in the road behind a white van that was parked on the side of the road. And I thought, oh, what the heck?
Yeah.
And I was shaking my head and looking at it. And as I looked at it and moved forward slowly through the intersection, it dissolved, and it was actually a boxer.
Wow.
Standing just, out, somebody's dog got out.
Okay.
And it just kind of freaked me out. And I pulled over into a grocery store parking lot, and I called that girlfriend.
Right.
And to tell her about my experience. And I started to cry. Lou, I started to cry and cry and cry. Right. And I had a meltdown in the car.
Good for
you. I didn't realize what was going on with me.
Yeah, man.
She was freaking out on the other end of the phone. And what can I do? Just stay on the phone with me. And I was in that parking lot for 2 hours.
Right.
In that fetal position in the front seat of my car.
Yeah.
Funny thing, I was driving a Fusion.
Okay.
And I thought, how ironic. But but that was the beginning of the path for me.
Right.
And of the change of life that would change, like I said, not just my life, but the lives of many, 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 many others.
Sure.
And it's been quite an amazing journey for me.
Beautiful, beautiful. Right. Well, one of the reasons thank you for sharing that. That's really powerful. One of the reasons I really wanted to connect with you is I have I don't have enough men in my life. And thank you. And I don't have, I'm probably like you, I'm a bit of a spiritual snob. So I want to hang out with the people that can teach me something. And I know that that's you. So I am really happy to connect with another spiritual man who's on the path and doing this journey. Do you, in your work, are you working with men as well as women? What's your...
Well, interestingly enough, most of the people I work with are women. I have very few men in my life.
There we are.
But everybody has this impression that I only work with men. I started an organization years ago called Miscellaneous, MISC, Men in Self-Care. And it was just a sacred circle so men could come and say what they needed to say, talk about the things they needed to talk about the things they can't talk about at home, right. And actually learn how to not be judged by the circle and be able to go home and not worry about being judged by the spouse, partner, friend, girlfriend, whatever the case may be.
Sure.
So there's this thing that people believe that I only work with men, but 95% of the people I work with are women.
Yeah, well, that's been my story as well for like 25 years,
Yeah.
But I feel like, I want to hear your take on the shift of the decade here and the energies that we're moving into. I mean, yeah, everyone's got something to say about it, but I really just want to put that out there to you. I'm really looking forward to working with you, with other conscious men, with making more of a conscious connection. Thank you.
Thank you. And
sure.
It's interesting about everybody is waiting for 2020, and everybody gets into the story of it. I stay out of the story. Just like Mercury in retrograde and other things that happen in the world, I always say, don't turn Chicken Little into chicken shit.
That's good.
Don't get distracted by the chatter and the and other people's distractions of what that actually is, because the new year is coming, and everybody was talking about in the end of the 19 how this was going to happen and that was going to happen and this was going to happen, and now we're in 20 and they're still talking about how it's going to happen. It's happening.
Yeah.
Be here now.
Yeah.
Be present with the present energies of manifestation. Lou, I got to tell you, I have an amazing life because I live in the present moment. I don't know what's going on up the street in the rest of the village here in Sedona.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Sure.
I don't care.
Sure.
I know that at 11 I was going to be talking to Lou Martin, and we were going to have a conversation, and that's where I'm at.
Yeah, man.
My recommendation, I listen to people talk about the what if could'ves, would'ves, should'ves, and all those things. It's like, stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah.
And more than anything, the people that I hear talk that way are healers, and people who are giving advice and opinion to people. It's like, we need to be very careful with the way we speak, and that's the most important component of the healing is, how do I speak? How do I speak to myself? How do I speak of others and to others and for others? It's important.
Amen to that. Yes, I'm with you on that. Oh, yeah. No, that's right. And those are beautiful understandings that you're sharing. And I mean, this is, I've spent some time with the Lakota and other, Native people in the States and other places. And, this is what I love about the gift of the Red Road and the indigenous culture and all of this, that, it's be here now, be real, be in the present moment, open your heart to Mother Earth, to Great Spirit, be of good service to each other, be generous, be thoughtful, be responsible, and as you say, it's not all this chitty chat about what is, maybe, could be, and should be. Yeah.
Living in the story while we're running on the wheel, we spent a lot of time. Wait
a minute. That was a big statement right there. That you said a lot already. Yeah, go ahead.
running on the wheel. And sometimes when we are running on the wheel, the squeaking gets so loud, we can't even hear our heartbeat. We can no longer hear our soul whisper to us about what it is we're doing, where we're going, how to get there. We're too busy. Wait a minute. Do I need Jesus to know God? Do I need God? It's the sound of the interior gets drowned out by the exterior.
That's right.
And the exterior lives up here in the ghoul.
Yeah.
And I call it the ghoul because I want to go from ghoul and help people go from ghoul to ruh, from darkness to the light.
Very good. Very good.
So that sound of that squeaky wheel and the mouse that's running on it, uncle.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. I surrender. Yeah, man. Yeah,
uncle. I had enough of that. What's the saying? Nothing changes until things change, and nothing is going to change until I change it.
That's right. Yeah, Lazarus, one of my spirit friends, nothing changes until you do. And you're saying it beautifully, Anthony. It's so true. So, I mean, Sedona, of course, is, such a magnet for healers and healing. What is that like these days?
Well, Sedona is a magnet for all kinds of things.
Right.
And I have
also extraordinarily beautiful. I just want to say,
it's magnificent. And if you can, if you can get past your tourist eyes, and step into your spiritual eyes and your spiritual self, and become a present resident of what's happening here and what you're doing here, it can be a really magical place. I get phone calls all the time from people.
Right.
I'm going to be in Sedona. Where should I go? I don't know. Well, don't you live there? I said, yeah, but I'm not a tourist here.
Right.
I don't go out. I call it Ant Farm. I don't go out to Ant Farm and hang out with everybody else on Friday and Saturday and Sunday. Okay. It's like Disney. It's like Disneyland out there sometimes.
Right.
And I understand why the Grand Canyon, parts of that are the same way.
Right.
But I like the serenity and the solitude of the unbeaten path.
Yeah.
Because that's where I can go and drum and sing and pray and commune and not have to be disrupted by the disruption.
Sure.
The distraction.
Yeah.
It's a little different for me. And when I first came here 3 years ago, I was at a place called Sedona, Venus Sedona. I don't drink, but I was there with friends. A friend was playing music there. And I was talking to an artist who was also a healer. And he said, there's a lot of, what's the word? Not shyster. It's another word.
Hustlers.
There's a lot of those type of people here. Yeah. He says, if that's what you are, you will be seen and you won't be here anymore. Sure. And I heard that. Yeah. Now, I was taught by my elders and by my ceremonial lodge brothers to walk in the way of beauty, walk in the way of balance. Right. Now, that's a native teaching from the medicine wheel.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that, and I have to say this as well. Everything that I do, all that I do, as much as I am an indigenous person, a native person, through my mother, my father, I've never known my people. Okay. I've never known their practices.
Okay.
The practices that I have came from my lodge brothers, the little that they taught me, and what the spirit gives me within the womb, if you will.
Yeah.
But I mentioned earlier when we were talking that I spend 2 or 3 hours a day in the morning in quiet, in solitude, whether it's eating my oatmeal or drinking coffee or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that's happening there. And what happens there is people see it on Facebook. I'll have like 12, 10, 20 quotes, bang, 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 that come out of my soul, that come out of my mouth that I'm not hesitant to share with people.
Yeah. Beautiful.
And I get downloaded a lot of information. The songs that I sing, the spirit language that I sing in, that's all downloaded. How I started making drums and why was downloaded to me. The rattles, everything that I do, 90, almost 100% of it is downloads from the spirit world and the guides.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
And on both sides of my family, my dad, my father, and my mother's side, I'm the only person who does what I do.
Really?
And sometimes it's kind of, at first I was embarrassed about it. I didn't know how to be with the information, be with the happening. And about over a year ago, I was busted by a woman, by somebody's mother here in Sedona. I was at her birthday party, right. And this woman came over to sit and talk to me. And I knew she had something to say to me because I knew who she is.
Okay.
And said, I'm just going to spit it out. I need to say this. I said, yeah, go ahead. I've been waiting.
Yeah, here it
and
comes.
she said, I see you surrounded by feathers. I said, oh yeah, you have no idea. Because if I show you I open my basket for you, there's wings and tails and all kinds of things that that I come upon on the road.
Okay.
And she said, and there's a headdress on the floor. When are you going to pick it up?
Oh man, that's some heavy medicine. Yeah.
I knew that right there, right then, I was busted.
Well, hallelujah. Good for you, man.
Yeah.
We need
you.
When I came dress on and step into it,
When I came back to Sedona in September, and because I had been back and forth for the last 3 years from between LA, Santa Barbara here and Orange County and North San Diego area.
Okay.
I ran into her daughter, who is a friend of mine. She owns a place called Tribe Wellness in West Sedona. And I said, she was leaving for Belize. And I said, do me a favor, before you go and you see your mom, tell her that I said, thank you, that I've stepped into the headdress.
Brilliant.
Which I have, because there is no embarrassment or shyness or doubt in what I do. Other people may have that about me, but I don't.
Right.
I know exactly who and what I am and why and what I'm doing. And that self-doubt left me, and high human, every now and again, something will creep in.
Yeah.
But it's usually comes from someplace else and somebody else. And I let it get the best of me. But for the most part, I've stepped into the power of what I call being the tree, being rooted and fruited.
Right.
And being selfless. And I use the example of the tree because a tree, it extends its branches into the heavens and out to the community, the common unity.
Right.
It gives the birds of the air shelter. It gives the birds of the air food. It gives the ground animals food. The tree only sees the sky, moon, stars, and the other trees and the animals, but it never sees itself. So as the example to me, that's what selflessness is. And I want to be as close to selfless as possible because I grew up pretty selfish. I grew up, becoming an addict and an alcoholic and motorcycles and bikes and all the materialism that's out there that is, that's a part of life. And I decided that it wasn't for me anymore. I just didn't want that to be what my life is about.
Yeah. Well, brother, I am just having a party listening to you. I'm telling you, this is just my idea of a great time. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that is just straight from the heart, Anthony. I hear you loud and clear. I think I relate to about 90% of what you're sharing here, and the other 10% is, the humanness and the practice, the daily surrender.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about your drums and your drumming and the making of your drums and how that became part of your practice.
Well, I was I was a musician in an Afrobeat orchestra, and I've always played drum. In fact, I was flunked in the second grade because one of the things that I was always doing was I was always banging on the desk.
Dude, you're the first person to have my story. They left me back in the third grade because I wouldn't stop singing the Beatles songs. She'd go,
right? And why wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well, all right. So now we know we're twin sons of different mothers. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild.
my at 11 or 10 or 11, my father had a pair of congas in the house, and I started playing those. But at 51, I became a part of an Afrobeat orchestra in Los Angeles, and I was doing that for a while. And I was dating a different woman who was native, who was being mentored, or she was in apprenticeship with a woman named Sarah Eaglewoman. And Sarah Eaglewoman, she's married to a famous guy, karate sensei, named Benny the Jet Urquidez. And they would hold spirit circle at the Golden Bridge Yoga in Hollywood, which I thought was a little odd, but what do I know, right? I'm fresh and new into this world, so
right.
of spirituality. So, and Stormy calls me one day and says, hey, Anthony, would you come and drum for Sarah Eaglewoman? I'm like, yeah. I've never done that kind of drumming, but I showed up with a shekere and some other small hand instruments, some rattles and things. And they had a powwow drum there.
Right.
And I started
that's a big drum. That's a
big drum.
Yeah.
I started to play that drum, and I did that a couple of times the way that I knew how. And then the third time that I went to drum for the spirit circle, I stepped inside the sacred circle with this big drum and played it from the center of the circle. And during the time of that ceremony, when I was playing, and not a lot of people know this, this is something I don't tell a lot of people.
Okay.
I ascended.
Right.
I ascended to the heavens, and up until that point, I was teaching the fifth chakra for about a year and a half. That's all I was teaching, because it was that important for people and for me to understand what comes out of here is what's right here. Right. What is right here should come out of here as its true component and true self.
Uh-huh.
So I ascend and I meet Creator Great Spirit.
Right.
And he says to me, your voice, your hand, and the mallet and the drum are one.
Wow.
You are one and the same.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful.
Oof.
Yeah.
Oof.
We feel that.
So I come back into the room and I'm drumming and I'm drumming and I'm drumming.
Wait a minute. No. You don't get to rush past that. That was just gorgeous. That's when you know you've touched the face of God, my friend. When you can't talk about it without balling up. Yeah, bless you.
Yeah. And and this happens to me all the time when I'm doing live videos. I don't stop myself from having these moments, because everybody needs to understand that it's okay to have these moments. It's a part of the healing of the soul, of my domestication, of the colonialism, of the hurts, shames, wounds, and traumas that I suffered getting to point B.
Sure, man. Sure. Well, and your heart is open, brother, and you're sharing that beautifully with all of us, and everyone that sees this feels that, and it's a sacred, beautiful thing you're giving us here. Thank you.
Yeah, it's important, because the whole drum, the whole concept for me of the drumming and the drum literally comes from the heartbeat.
Yeah.
It's the first sound we heard in utero, in the sacrum, from our mother.
Yeah.
Heart, lungs, air, I love, I'm loved. Heart, lungs, air, I don't have the capacity to love. I don't have the capacity to be loved. And I have to ask myself the question, which is it?
Yes.
Now, so we're in utero. That's the first sound we connect with. It's the first sound we hear. We're in water. We get pushed out into the light. And there used to be a time where they would take us from being pushed out into the light to place us right on a mother's stomach or tummy or chest, right to the breast. Heart, lungs, air, I love, I'm loved. To be fed from the heart space. Memory, mammary.
Sure.
Memory. So when I cry, mucus, tears, those things come from a particular place. And everybody says, well, they come from your sinus area. I'm like, nope, they don't come from there. It comes from your lungs. The liquid of mucus comes from the lung area, heart, lungs, air, I love, I'm loved. Why wouldn't I cry? Why wouldn't I shed that tear? It's a memory. It's remembering. It's touching the face of God and saying, yes, I will be walking crow. I will drum for the people.
Beautiful.
I will do this. I will sing the songs that you give me. I say yes to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad I asked, Right.
It's a powerful medicine, and I can't get enough of it.
Yeah.
I just can't.
Yeah. So you've had this connection with Great Spirit, bless you, and we all feel this. And then you become the drum maker, and the drumming is your medicine.
Yeah. Well, after I had that experience with a Sarah Eagle woman, I stepped out of when I was done, Chief Thunderhorse, Benny Eukitis, came over to me. He said, I've been trying to get the drummers who come here to drum to step in the drum inside the circle, and they won't do it because they're traditional drummers. And you don't do that. You don't step into the circle in that way. Okay. I said, well, I'm not a traditional drummer.
There you go.
And I said, and I've never known my people. So where my spirit came from was literally a place of spirit and not a place of tradition.
I hear you. Yeah.
And that's important because I had lived in tradition all my life and it didn't get me anywhere.
Sure.
It got me drunk. Trying to live up to that expectation, to that dangling carrot, got me drunk, got me loaded, got me all kinds of things.
Sure, man.
But
sure.
Not happiness.
Yeah. No, I relate. I deeply relate. I mean, my thing happened when I was 30. My awakening happened when I was 30, and it was in meditation, and it was holding a quartz crystal. And it was the first time a friend told me that there's this thing called Kundalini energy, and if you meditate with a quartz crystal, you might open it up. And so the first time I did it, that's what happened. I felt this this message from spirit: love, open, beauty, sex, love. Just open your heart, and the heat at the base of my spine just opened up, and it shot out through the top of my head, and my all my chakras opened. And so I had that cosmic heart opening or orgasmic experience. I didn't have that connection of talking to Great Spirit like you're describing in that way, but I knew that something had changed permanently in my life, and it was like the before and after moments like you're describing there. And I mean, for me, it's been, just to share my story for a moment here, for me, it's been 33 years since August of '87 when that happened. It was the harmonic convergence, and I was working in a spiritual bookstore reading all these books, but I hadn't had these kinds of experiences until that summer. And then I studied with one channel teacher, Lazarus, and started opening to channel and working in that way. So when you talk about, you're in your space there with the silence for a couple, 2 or 3 hours every morning, and then the messages start to come through you. I deeply relate to that. For me, with meditation and these channeling practices, I can go there very quickly as well. I know what it feels like, and but again, it's just brilliant. Honestly, I don't know why I've saved it up till today, but I'm just so thrilled to connect with you. This is just earth-shaking for me, man.
My Kundalini moment happened on that table with Kat in Highland Park that day. I came across Wolf, and I had that experience. Right. It had like somebody unzipped my skin, and I was exposed front and back. It was the wildest thing. And I guess it's like when you get high for the first time, then you end up chasing it.
Sure.
But this is the thing that we should be chasing. This is euphoria. The Hindus call it bliss.
Sure.
God is bliss.
Yeah.
And to feel bliss on a daily basis, multiple times a day, is an amazing experience. I mean, I can't compare it to anything that I grew up with.
Well, you're really giving me a lot to think about, my friend. I'm really happy about all this. Yeah, no, I mean, it's see, this is what I've been working with recently, just this week is gratitude, and, really just giving thanks, and, getting out of, as you said, the squeaky wheel, of worrying, complaining, struggling, me, blah, 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 and getting back to, thank you, I love you, I'm grateful, I love you, thank you, however we open our hearts. But like you're saying, you're giving me so much to think about again here. I really feel for me, the energy of this new decade is profoundly different than what it was, and things are really lifting up. But we have to do our work, of course, every day of our lives, and the Spirit is saying, okay, we're going to make it really simple now. It's about this big. Just get through that passage.
Yeah, there's a lot happening in the world. And I was interviewed by a healer that I met through Lionheart, and she asked me one day, it was for some show she was doing, how do you deal with what's happening in the world today? And what was happening at that time was Donald Trump was running for president. I think he became president or whatever. I said, that's none of my business. None of that is any of my, how can you be so naive? I said, I didn't say I was naive.
Right.
I said that it's none of my business.
Right.
There are those in this world who will go out and raise a fist.
Right.
I mean, I grew up in Chicano power in Los Angeles. I'm a POC. I'm a person of color. I've got a lot of opinions and things to say, but I want to live my life in a happier way.
Sure.
So if I'm out there raising my fist, a closed fist,
right,
I can't open my hand and extend it to the person across the table from me.
Yeah.
That is more important to me. Bridging the gap of difference is more important to me than letting you know how I feel about your political view.
Right.
Who cares?
Right.
How happy does that make you? Do I need to be up in here giving myself brain cancer or an aneurysm or talking about those things constantly, so much so that I don't talk about that time when I was hurt as a child and all of a sudden I manifest a palsy in the eye, which you're familiar with, which you were the one who said that anger that you're carrying, Anthony, that's the eye. The eye, right? The eye, the me, the eye. Look what you did to me. Look what you did to I. So, those things are none of my business.
Sure, man. I hear you. Yeah. No, it's beautiful. Yeah. Amazing. I mean, we have to be the change you want to see in the world, and thank you for sharing that. And I'm glad your eye is perfect, whole, and complete once again. Well done. Yeah.
Now I have to tell you about that.
All right.
I went to Catholic school when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I grew up in a place called Pacoima, right behind the Foothill Division Police Department, which was just off San Fernando Road, which was probably about a quarter mile, half a mile from where the whole Rodney King thing took place.
Yeah, I was picturing all that. Yes.
Okay.
I know that place. Yeah.
So when Rodney King happened, so what? Big deal. So they got caught. I knew about that because we would talk to the police and they would tell us the stories and we would ooh and ah and all those things. So,
dude, you grew up on the front lines, man. I mean, that's the front lines, to my mind. Yeah.
Where I grew up, just the other side of the tracks was Hanson Dam and Hanson Hill, where all the African Americans lived in the valley. They didn't live anywhere else in the valley. They lived there, but I grew up in Pacoima, homeland of Richie Valens.
Okay.
And why was I telling you that? Oh, so you say to me in front of Ingrid that, Anthony, that eye is about anger. So I'm looking, Lou, in my life to where the anger is, and I can't find it. I have done so much soul searching and overcoming of the things that were overwhelming to me as a younger person.
Right. Bless you.
That I'm on this crazy path and I can't find it.
Okay.
So last February, a year ago today, I was leaving Los Angeles to come back. By the way, 1 and 4 is 5, and 5 is the number of freedom.
Amen.
I was on my way back to Sedona because I was desperate to get back. I wanted to be in Sedona. I was staying in my mother's house, and I haven't stayed in my mother's house since I was 18, 19 years old.
Well, that's quite an initiation right there, my friend.
So it was pouring rain, and I'm in San Bernardino about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and I have a terrible car accident.
Wow. Yes, that's right. I remember that.
And then all of that I had to pay a guy almost $300 to get towed off the freeway.
Right.
Because for the first time in my life, I let my insurance lapse.
Okay.
Hi, human.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah.
So I get towed off into a Stater Brothers in San Bernardino. I don't know San Bernardino, but there's a Jack in the Box across the street. And I go across the street to use the restroom because I'm full of coffee. I'm come out of that Jack in the Box and I get hit by a car.
Get out.
I get hit by a car.
Oh my God.
So I take that woman's information. I'm fine. Physically, I'm fine.
Okay. God.
Startled.
Yeah.
Could have startled the spirit right out of me, but it didn't. I went back to my car and I started reaching out to people, SOS on Facebook, to anybody in the San Bernardino area that could come out and help me.
Right.
Well, a chiropractor named Dr. Teresa Smith, where I see my clients when I'm in Los Angeles in Monrovia, right. She said, I'll be right there. And I kid you not, I was on the phone. It was like I snapped my fingers and she was there.
Wow. Brilliant.
She went out there to get me.
Yeah, man. Good.
So I'm going through the healing of that. I'm back in Los Angeles. My mother's freaked out when I walk in the door. Like, what are you doing here? Why didn't you call? Why didn't you tell somebody? What am I going to tell them? Right? So that happens.
Mom, you know. Yeah.
And I just want to get the hell out of LA.
Sure.
And my mother started saying, I don't want you to leave. I got to get out of here. I kept saying it. And I don't want you to leave. Well, how does that make her feel when I'm saying, I got to get the hell out of here? It makes her feel like there's something wrong with her. I'm saying in my heart.
Sure.
And she's hearing, my son can't be with me.
Yeah.
So I decided to stop doing that.
Okay.
I decided to stop talking that way.
Right.
And I had come to Sedona. I borrowed a car and came to Sedona, rented a car, came to Sedona. I went back and I was in Los Angeles for the summer. On May 9th, the palsy showed up in my eye.
Wow.
What's interesting about the palsy is the day that it happened, I was on my way. I had been walking around the Rose Bowl because I do that for exercise. And I went out to Monrovia. Okay. And on the way to Monrovia, I was going to go get a green juice. I came across a dead peacock on the freeway. Now, anybody who knows me right. knows that I pick up friends on the road, and people will ask me, Anthony, did you bring any friends with you? Because the medicines are given to me and brought to me and put in front of me, right. whether it's hawk, owl, whatever it is.
Sure.
So I picked up this peacock, and it was only half a peacock. And in medicine, in the spiritual world, peacock is symbolic of Phoenix rising.
Okay.
So I knew something was about to happen, and it was that day that my eye started to play tricks on me. Okay. And then 2 days later, my aunt and uncle were at the house, and they said, "What's going on with your eye?" Because my eye was doing this, my right eye. And I said, "I don't know." And I went and looked in the mirror, and I was like, "Holy cow!" And then double vision set in.
Wow.
So I ended up going to the doctor, did all that stuff. Yeah. And then you said what you said.
Okay.
In September, I had been seeing a healer named Donna McGinnis, and she's from England. Okay. And we met. She saw me at a powwow, but she didn't meet me. She met me the next day at her place of business. When I walked in, and she said, "You're here." And we have been friends ever since.
Okay.
So the eye is doing what it's doing. I've been seeing her as a healer. We're good friends. And I'm at her house. I'm on the table. She's preparing in September to work on me. Okay. And as she's preparing in the room, I start to cry.
Yeah.
And I start to cry. And I start to cry.
Yeah, man.
And it doesn't stop.
Yeah,
my shirt is soaking wet. My face is soaking wet. My hair, the pillow, the massage table is soaking wet. And she says, "What's going on with you?" I said, "It's here." She said, "What's here?" I said, "The issue in the tissue is here."
Okay.
The issue in the tissue.
Right.
Now, this may be hard for some people to hear. It may not be. Because we all understand there's a lot of abuses in the world that are no big deal. Some of them are a big deal. Sure. But it's to a child, every abuse leaves an issue in the tissue, and it's a big deal.
Yeah. Because
we pay a price for it later if we don't uncover, discover, embrace it. Not discard it, embrace it.
That's right.
So I said to her when I was about 5, and family members of mine who hear this may not like this story. Too bad.
Yeah.
Sorry, not sorry.
Yeah. Me too.
My mother worked nights. Sometimes she worked days. Sometimes she worked graveyard shift. Yeah. Swing Days graveyard. And my father worked for General Motors in the Valley. And my father was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And my father did things in a particular way. He was pretty when there was a beating to be had, it was pretty bad. So he lined us up one night in the garage, my brother who's 2 years older than me, my sister who's 2 years younger.
Yeah.
He lined us up, and he had thrown a nylon rope over the rafters of the garage and tied a slip knot into it.
Wow.
And he puts it around my neck, and he's looking for a tool, and he can't find it, which he probably misplaced when he was drunk. Far be it from me to notice the obvious at 5 years old. And he puts it around my neck. He says, if you don't tell me where that tool is, I'm going to hang you.
My God.
Yeah. I mean, and I said to Donna, I said, who would say that to their child after bringing this child into the world? Now, I'm going to say that, but I'm also going to tell you that at no time did my father ever say, I love you to me.
Sure.
In my 30 some years while he was in my life physically. Never.
Yeah.
He didn't have the capacity. He didn't have the ability. I didn't know that then. I understand that now. Yeah. So Donna said, wow, like you did. Wow. She said, well, what do you want to do about it? I said, well, let's do it. The cat's out of the bag, so let's do it. So she said, I want you. She said, do you know the Ho'oponopono? I said, oh, yeah. She says, we're going to use the Ho'oponopono. She says, I want you to forgive your father. And I want you to forgive yourself for carrying that all these years.
That's
53 years I carried that. 53 years.
Sure, buddy.
And I did that, so I forgave my father, and I recited the Ho'oponopono to him and to myself and to him until I didn't have to anymore. And I think I fell asleep. And she went to work. She's a crystal healer, and she does the work that she does.
Right.
And when I left there that day, I didn't put the patch back on, and my eye was fine.
Thank you. Wow, dude, that is extraordinarily courageous of you to share that with us. That's extremely deep. It's
important to share those things because I talked about heart, love, heart, lungs, air, I love, I'm loved, memory. Talk about all those things, the heartbeat, right? There are women out there with breast cancer that live with broken hearts, that have been molested, that have been wounded, that have been hurt. People with lung cancer, people who smoke. If people who smoke could learn how to say simply, you hurt my feelings. I love you. I need to be loved. I want to be loved. Do you have a minute? If they could ask the questions that they want to ask and not give themselves something that is toxic to their body.
Sure.
More toxicity to heal toxicity? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Like the alcoholic that I was. Spirit's in, spirit out. Sure. I've removed the spirit, spirit returns.
Sure.
And it's full of virtue.
Yeah. Well, brother, I love you to pieces, man. You are amazing. I am so grateful to you for everything you've shared here today. Yeah.
Thank you.
No, total love and respect to what you shared.
And likewise, it's become important. It's important to me to share the experiences. I mean, you talked about the reading that you did. It's funny. Yesterday, I was out at a place called the Chai Spot here in Sedona, and I sat down to read the 4 Agreements again. As a reminder, refresher, can I be more so,
Deeper. Yeah.
And what I've come to understand, and I don't say this because I'm trying to be popular or I'm trying to fit in, but the Toltec teachings is something that I carry. And I've said yes to when I didn't even know that that's what it was.
Yeah.
Now, I don't have to read that. And I've read a lot of books. I mean, I have bins of books that I love to be surrounded by because they're reminders of my path. But the books aren't where those things came from.
Sure.
Where this came from.
Sure.
Where this came from was sharing the experience of how I got from point A to point B.
Yeah. Yeah.
And others find peace in that. They find solid. I find peace in that when others share with me their path, and I'm like, wow, I can too. Me too.
Yes. Yes.
You know, the Me Too movement is completely different for somebody like me.
Sure.
Because me too, you too, me too. I think of George Lopez when I say that. Me too, you too, me too. You know?
Yeah.
Which,
Brilliant.
which is interesting. I went to high school with him.
Yeah.
At San Fernando High School.
Okay.
Now, George Lopez is world famous.
Right.
And if you ever, and he's got some physical issues, and I'm gonna talk about the issues in the tissues with regard to him. When I was in summer school, I mean, I went to summer school because I wasn't a very good student ever.
Sure.
Him and I hung out, and a couple of other guys.
Right.
And we would drop him off at his grandmother's house where he lived. And he always talked about his grandmother. I knew it was funnier than heck to me to hear that, because I knew who she was, and she was not a nice person.
Okay.
She would stand at the door with one hand on the hip and scowling at us because we were probably trash to her. I don't know.
Right.
But my grandmother lived a block away on Mission. And if you walked out of my grandmother's house and cross the street, walk through that house, through the alley to the house on Hagar where his grandmother lived, you could get there.
Right. Very close. Very close.
Well, George, if you see him, everything is here, right?
Right.
Everything happens up in the ethers.
Yeah.
And a few years back, he had gone through a divorce.
Yeah.
Separation from his wife, but that wife gave him a kidney.
Oh.
Second chakra, sacral, broken connection to others.
Wow.
You know, he talks about a lot of sad things in his act.
Yeah.
They're really sad and they're personable.
Yeah.
Personal, excuse me.
Yeah. Yes.
And they're really funny because we can relate.
Sure.
But how funny how we relate to that much pain, and we laugh at it. We avoid it through the laughter, and we're not actually doing anything about it. And neither did he. But the experience that I saw of him losing the kidney and having diabetes from a broken connection and low self-esteem, because I was there when he started as a comedian. We used to write some of his jokes.
Right.
And we would see him, and it was like, when I saw that happen to him, I was just like, wow, that's powerful. Mm-hmm. I wish I could talk to him and explain what that is to him and how he could save himself. Because him and I are the same age, and who knows how long he's going to live, because he's only really got one kidney. You know, in that place of in the sacred, the place of sacred water, the place where he was birthed and where we birth and where we connect to others.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I from my heart to yours, I hope that you're able to help him. Maybe he'll hear this, or maybe he'll just get the message, or maybe someone else gets to help him. I mean, the tricky thing, you know, is you know, letting other people have their pain, you know, and you know, being compassionate and honest and loving and supportive and in integrity with them, but not you know, saving themselves from themselves. It's like I think of in The Mission, you know, do you remember the scene? De Niro's paying for his sins of having been a slave trader, and he puts the armor on his back and he carries himself to the top, and Jeremy Irons, the priest, he cuts the armor and lets it fall to the bottom, and De Niro goes back down and puts it back on and starts climbing the mountain again.
Yeah.
It's like, who are you to tell me I've suffered enough? But when there are those moments, like you just shared so beautifully about your own healing with your eye, and I'm just honored to be any part of your story and that beautiful.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, man. You know, we I mean, we're all in the same boat. You know, nobody gets out of here alive, and we're all children of God, and we've all got pain and fear. We're up one day and down the next, and things are okay, and then they're not. And you know, you know, again, man, you know, it's the heart is the center of the universe to me. You know, and when anyone can open their hearts, then they can come back to healing themselves and helping others to heal. But not everyone is ready, willing, or available. You know, to everyone in their own divine timing. You know. It's and that for me, that's what prayer is, and your drum medicine, you know, the channeling, you know, we're putting it out there into the universe. You know, I'm here, I'm available, this is here, this is available.
There's a song that I sing, Ayo Nana Owai, Ayo Nana Owai, Ayo Nana Owai, Ayo Nana Owai, Owe, Owe, Owe. It's in spirit language. It's what I was told by a Navajo grandmother with it. That was spirit language. Ayo Nana Owai is, I will love you, my child. I will love me, my child. It's about loving the inner child, the self.
Right.
I will love you, my child. I will love you, my child. And whenever I'm out someplace here in Sedona, and because I'll go into like an art gallery where I sell my drums, I'll sit down and sing for a half hour or 40 minutes. When I sing that song, even without the understanding of what it means, people are in tears because it's so important. The child, the broken child within doesn't get healed. He gets left behind. And when we are able to come into our awareness of who we are and what we are, and able to bring the child forward to integrate that child with the man or the woman, what a spectacular life that child. I mean, the child's is going to be loved for the first time in who knows how long. Yeah. When did the trauma happen? When did your shame happen? When did the root of your issue in your tissue happen?
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. Well, I just want to share with you also, man, my dad was an alcoholic. He was actually murdered when I was 17.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We moved over and over and over again throughout my life from, I think 18, 15 times, something like this, between birth and graduating high school. And then for me personally, I was high every day of my 20s with weed. That was how I was coping. And then, the grief about my childhood and my dad and all that was just patiently waiting, to get my attention. And then that's when that inner journey really began. Do you know Robert Bly? Is he a familiar name? He's a poet. He's one of my heroes. Yeah, he's lovely. He's like in his 90s now. He created, I'm 62 and was living in LA for about 30 years. And he created what he called the mythopoetic men's movement with other teachers and writers and whatnot. And they would, have, Sam Keen, John Lee. These are some of the other names with that group. But they would take, men out to the wilderness and, they would do drumming and ceremony. And then they would, of course, have the time for men to tell their stories. And, as you said, with your same group there, there'd be a place for men to cry and laugh and share their pain and share their strength and love and support and honor each other,
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And I feel like that's what you and I have been doing here today, and it's really beautiful and just such a huge gift to me. I'm just truly grateful to you, Anthony. Thank you.
And I'm grateful for you for asking me. And I have to tell you, with regard to our fathers.
Yeah.
My father died at 71 with lung cancer.
Yeah.
Heart disease.
Right.
Liver cancer. Right. Low self-esteem.
Yeah. Not
being loved. I know in fact, I only know his story from a medium who told me what had happened to him as a child. Right. So I understand why not having the capacity and the drunkenness, I understand all that. And I had to forgive. We don't know what our parents suffered at whoever's hands. And yeah, we could have a lot of judgment and be angry with them, but the anger doesn't serve the situation because it turns into a cancer for us.
Yeah.
But if we're able to do what you did, to have a good morning, to wake up and have a good morning, morning, morning.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You're quite the poet.
And to grieve those things in a good way and cry and say, Dad, I understand. I don't understand, and have the silent conversation with him.
Right.
A silent conversation of hopefully forgiveness.
Yes.
What a different life we can have, like you have there in Ireland, like I have here in Sedona. It's like we are blessed. We get to be blessed and bless.
Yes. Yes.
And in bliss.
And bliss. Yes. Yes. Let's bless into the bliss. Yeah, man.
Oh,
yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, I just love you, man. Thank you so much.
I love you too. Thank you.
Thank you. let's do this again real soon. And where can people find you and your work?
They can find me at sacreddrummedicine.com on the internet. And if they want to reach me for send questions or anything like that, they can reach me at Walking Crow, one word, at sacreddrummedicine.com, or Anthony at sacreddrummedicine.com. Or if they're in the States and they want to call me, they can do, or text me, they can do that at 818-442-1717.
Brilliant.
And I'm in Sedona. So, and right. all points east, north, south, and west. So.
Yes. Do you know, I have to ask you, do you know our friend Marita Estiva?
Yes.
She's powerful medicine.
Marita came to Sedona to meet me, and we made a powwow drum for her. And then I made an 18-inch deer high drum for her, maybe during the summer when I was in Los Angeles healing from the eye.
Okay, great. Yeah.
She's amazing. She's amazing.
Yes, I love her to pieces. And of course, there's our Ingrid, who is just, what can you say, man? She's just on fire,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Beautiful. Well, I'm sure go on.
She's the taco of, what's her boyfriend's name? What's his name? She's the taco of Dwayne's eye.
Yeah. Dwayne loves his tacos, doesn't he? God love him. Yeah. Well, and they're, I'm just so happy for them. They seem to be doing amazing, and she's just really, extraordinary. So, as they say at the end of Casablanca, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
Oh, thank you. And I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks, brother.
I would say to you, feel free to reach out to me anytime. I'm available to you,
Thank you. I hear you.
I don't have a lot of male friends, and I need them in my life.
Well, we have started a new chapter here today, both of us. You have a lot to teach me. I am very grateful for your medicine.
Likewise.
Thank you. All right. We'll leave it there. Peace and blessings. Namaste. Aho matakwe asan.
Aho shinawana. Honata. Aho shinawana. Hey.
Thank you.